approve the agenda if there's no changes. If there are, we'll make adjustments. And then for the board meeting minutes of 17 April 2018, we'll seek approval for that. Today, for May 1st, we have three presentations. And one of them is the Safety Award. And I think Ms. Brand is going to be here to receive that. And the County Manager, Ramiro Chavez, will be able to frame it for us.
Yeah, I will, thank you, Commissioner. I will introduce Mr. Brian Stacy. He is the current First County Engineer and the President of the National Association of County Engineers, also known as SNAES. And our own traffic engineer, Scott Davis, has won the national award, which is the David P. Brand Safety Award.
That is fantastic.
And this is the nationwide competition, and this is related to those individuals who have made...
For Gary.
Sorry, do I have to repeat this?
No.
This is a national award and really highlights the contributions that a professional engineer has done to the community in terms of implementing safety strategies. And this is a great award. Scott Davis needs to feel proud of that, but also the county as a whole.
Fantastic.
And we should be expecting quite a few public works staff this afternoon to support Scott on this award.
And so does Scott know, or is this sort of a surprise?
Scott didn't know. He attended a conference, the national conference last week, where he was surprised on Wednesday on the banquet. He received that, of course, on emails already.
Okay, well, we tried. Super. Any questions about that? Okay. The second item is from the Human Resources, and this is the Public Service Recognition Week proclamation for 2018. And Director from Human Resources for the county, Katie Gerard, will be here to receive it, or tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, Katie Gerard will be here. She is your HR director, and we have planned several activities to celebrate public service in the week of May 6th to May 12th of 2018. And there's a couple of activities where the commissioners will be involved in serving ice cream to staff. And Katie will walk you through the details of those activities this afternoon.
Okay. Any questions about that? Comment? No. All righty, let's move on to the next one. This one's Emergency Services, a proclamation of Emergency Medical Services in Thurston County, and Director from Emergency Services, Kurt Hardin, is the recipient.
Yeah, this is a national effort for the week of May 20 to May 26 is the Emergency Medical Services Week, and this proclamation highlights the same effort for Thurston County. And Kurt Harding will be here to walk you through the details of that proclamation as well.
Fantastic.
No.
Anything? Okay, we're good on proclamations. Any other comments or questions about that? If not, we'll move on to the first item in the agenda, which is the opportunity for the public to address the board. And just wondering if there's any kind of substantive issues we need to take a look at.
Perhaps considering that today is May Day, you may have some testimony related to that, but I have not heard anything specific.
No.
Have you? Anything?
No. I don't know.
All righty. So the next item is the county manager's update, and I'll just turn back to Romero.
Yeah, I have a couple updates for you. One is I want to highlight the on April 21st, 2018, there was an effort to clean the Nisqually River, where several organizations participated in this effort, over 70 volunteers, and they ended up cleaning close to 6 miles of the Nisqually River. And along with the several volunteers, there were other organizations, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, Centralia City Light, LeMay Pacific Disposal, and Thurston County Public Works participated in this effort, where we provided garbage bags, first aid kits, and other items to the volunteers during this event. And so I will highlight the specifics of that event because, again, it was an incredible volunteer effort to clean Dennis Water Road.
Fantastic.
Do we have an estimate of what our investment was?
In terms of dollars, I don't, but I can certainly
Just curious.
give you a number.
But you don't have to research it. But I'm just wondering, staff time and product,
Yeah.
so we can claim that as yeah, we contributed.
Yeah. I can give you an estimate because we include some of the disposal fees as well.
Thank you.
That's what I'm interested in, disposal fees and how we handled that.
Yeah. Follow-up. And also, I'd like to highlight this afternoon, I briefly mentioned before the meeting, Brian Dominique, your PIO, has developed a production as to how we can introduce all the different directors to the community. You may recall we had a round table. It was televised, and it's going to be right now in the air, I believe. And it was an opportunity for the directors, your directors, to introduce to the community again. And we have a few questions at the round table. It was just about an hour. And yesterday we had an open house. There was also televised. It was from 5:30 to 7, where we had a panel discussion, and there were some questions submitted by the public who attended. We had just about 18 individuals who attended, you say?
Nice.
I think it was like 15.
So I believe there was a great way to introduce the directors to the community. At the end of yesterday's event, I received some good feedback
Good.
in terms of perhaps that was the first time that I actually see the faces of the county business.
Very
And for me, that was really the main objective as to how we can go about and just put a face to all the services that we provide to our citizens. So,
Very well done. Any comments?
Televised, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And again, I'd like to publicly acknowledge Brian Dominique because he has done an outstanding job on this.
Thank you, Brian. All righty. So we're going to move on to item number 3, which is the consent items. We have consent items A through D. And the first one is A, and that would be emergency services, the resolution of disposal of excess county equipment.
This is a request for the commissioners to declare excess of 4 ambulances. One is 2007 5. Did I say 4?
4.
It's 5. I'm sorry, 5 ambulances. One dated 2007, 2008, and 2009. Those seem deemed to be have reached their useful life. There is also some opportunities for those to be used in other areas. So the EMS Council on January 18, 2017 recommended approval to dispose of those vehicles to the West Thurston Regional Fire Authority, to the Lacey Fire District number 3, to the Tenino Fire Department, East Olympia Fire, and South Bay Fire. They will not be utilized fully as an ambulance, but also they will certainly be used to transport individuals, so they will continue to use that equipment.
Still a use for it. Any questions about it?
No, I voted for it.
Oh, you did?
Well, I'm okay with it. I was just wondering, I know the coroner was looking for an extra vehicle, thank you. But we have no use for these at all then? Okay then, I'm fine.
I don't believe so.
All
Because
righty.
the coroner may need additional different needs on the
Yeah, he may.
All righty. Now we're on 3B, which is the Community Planning and Economic Development as the final plat for the Cantor Grove at Long Lake Division.
Yeah,
And
this is a proposal for you to authorize the final plat of the Cantor Grove Long Lake. This is a 5.92 acres. They have been originally subdivided in 43 single-family homes with tracks for open space. In February 7, 2017, it was approved as a request by the owner to reduce the 43 lots to 31 single-family lots. That was approved, and at this point, all the requirements of the final plat has been met, and staff is requesting approval of this,
What was that reduction from what to what?
from 43 originally to 31.
Okay.
And again, the reduction was at the request of the developer, of the owner. Because I believe they wanted to have some additional open space in front of them.
These are the questions. Anything else? We're good. Okay, so let's move on to 3C.
Item 3C.
Emergency services. Go ahead.
This is a request for you to authorize the Director of Emergency Services, Kurt Haddon, to have a sub-recipient agreement, this is a pass-through federal dollar from the Homeland Security, and it is really is directed to the McLean Black Lake Fire Department for $15,656. And that is not unusual. You have approved previous pass-through because the McLean or any fire departments cannot receive direct federal grants from the Homeland Security, so the county operates as the recipient and passes through to the fire departments. This was approved by the EMS Council, and the purpose of this $15,656 is to support the Special Operations Rescue Team, also known as SORT.
Also known as
SORT. That would be the Special Operations Rescue Team.
Special Operations.
I'm just following instructions.
Yeah, I see that. You're doing very well. We'll go with SWORD.
And again, this agreement is from September 1st, 2016 to August 1st, 2018. And the reason to go back in time is to allow the McLean Black Lake Fire Department to recuperate some of the costs they have already incurred in this particular program.
Yeah, Hutch has a question for you.
Well, it's a question for you, or either one of you. Do you want to swap C and D, or C and B rather, so emergency management are the same, or together back to back rather than,
That's not
just the order?
so we're not doing a ping pong?
Sure.
Well, won't they all consent though?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right,
They're
doesn't
consent
matter.
items.
Because you approve all at once, so.
I remember that, it was a test. Thank you.
But we can move the order as you wish, Commissioner.
They passed, everyone, they've passed. Yes. They're all firing on all cylinders.
All right. And then I think we have the Auditor of Financial Services.
Yeah,
You wanna
that's
change
your
that one too?
weekly
Shut
approval
up.
of the voucher list.
Do you want to move that one?
We like to move to the top.
Welcome back, folks.
Making fun of me.
Okay, we're going to move into department items, and the first one is number 4, Public Works, which is the purchase of corridors for fish passage enhancements. And I think we've been down this road before, but I want to hear it again.
Yeah, this is, you authorized maybe a couple of weeks ago to go ahead and purchase the prefabricated bridges, 3 of the 5 culverts to this fish passage. This is to purchase 2 additional culverts. So the difference between the last action was more of a prefabricated bridge. In this particular case, they want to purchase pipes, what they call culverts. One is 12 feet arch pipe, and the other one is 16 feet arch pipe. And that will complement the 5 culverts that you already hoping to construct this year at Fish Passage. The total cost is $102,175. The department is authorizing the director to go up to 20% of that cost for a total of $122,610, just to cover any unforeseen overruns on that purchase. As you may recall, the funding for this enterprise is coming from the real estate excise tax, to also known as retail.
Is that coming from within that same budgetary amount that we,
It's
okay.
all encompassing on that.
Any comments, questions?
No.
Alrighty, we're at item number 5, which is emergency services. Seems that to be the main effort of a lot of our stuff today. So, execute a contract for FY. Is that 2 Fs or 1 F?
There's a federal fiscal year.
Oh, federal. Okay, sure.
Federal
Okay.
fiscal year for 2017, and this to receive a grant of $284,050 from the Homeland Security. And as you may know, the Thurston County Emergency Services serves as the lead agency on the Security Region 3, which includes Gray, Harbor, Lewis County, Mason County, Pacific, and Thurston County, as well as the cities and the tribes within those counties. And the intent of this $284,050 is to support the operational coordination, the Thurston on-screen security and protective law enforcement, Thurston mass search and rescue, and the Thurston community reliance. Those are the four major programs that this particular grant will be, and again, it will be in coordination with all the counties within Region 3.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Is that money earmarked already?
I believe it has been expected a grant is coming from the Homeland Security.
But it's already designated for certain projects and certain, it's used up already?
No, it's intended to do that work.
But you don't know exactly which work that's going to be.
Oh, perhaps I don't understand your question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's all dedicated already. Did they know they were going to get it, and is it already kind of pre-spent? Or are we going to be able to have some leeway about deciding where some of that will be spent in emergency services?
The federal government is specific.
Yes, but
specific to the activities that we.
And there's actually specific activities that it's going to go for already.
Yes.
No leeway.
I don't believe there is a leeway.
We'll double check. Usually when you apply for these grants, you tell them how you're going to spend
Okay.
it, and then you're bound to that.
Okay.
Well, my question is kind of the same, only from the standpoint that you said it included law enforcement, and I don't know what kind of support that is, if it goes to the sheriff, or is it for emergency management only, their use to support?
This is operational and programmatic. Does not include any staffing, because you couldn't use a one-time grant to support any staff level.
Right, and I don't mean staffing, but any other needs the sheriff might have, or if it's just supportive of something within EMS for law enforcement, countywide.
I don't think we can deviate from the intent of the original proposal. And those are the requirements of any federal grant.
But are we saying we don't know what the original proposal was?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the sheriff if he's involved in this. Sheriff, are you involved at all in this portion of this Homeland Security grant that you're aware of?
No.
Okay. Up. Wait a minute.
There we go.
They might be referring to the Homeland Security grant that's going to purchase the UAS.
Yeah.
And that may be what that's.
You think that's part of it?
That,
I don't think that's the case.
if it's the Homeland Security grant?
This is the Homeland Security grant for $284,000 for Region 3, not just for Thurston County.
Yes, all 5 of the counties, but part of that includes that. So there's funding for equipment and things like that throughout the whole region.
Maybe under the Thurston mass search and rescue, is that purchasing that equipment? No? So we'll find out. I'll touch base with Kurt Harding, and then maybe we can clarify this afternoon.
I'm always looking for a little room to stretch, you know.
I understand.
Okay.
Does it stop your vote on this?
No, it doesn't.
No.
We can also move this item for next week.
No. I'd just like to know that so we can at least start thinking about, well, there's a little bit there that we can do something with.
Alrighty, let's go with 5D. If there's no other questions, go with 5D. Execute agreement for participation in emergency management assistance compact with Pacific Northwest Emergency Management Arrangement.
This is a mutual intergovernmental aid agreement with the Washington State Military Department from April 4, 2018 through March 31st, 2023. And this is for the Emergency Management Assistance Compact and the Pacific Northwest Emergency Management Arrangement. This is related to a mutual aid agreement across all the 50 states and all the U.S. territories. And there is not really a financial transaction at this point, but really allows to share resources in case of emergency among jurisdictions.
Kind of a routine item. Any questions?
No.
Okay, that completes 5. We'll move on to number 6, which is the Public Health and Social Services. And we have approval of amendment number 1 to the Department of Social Health Services County Workforce Children with Special Needs Program Amendment 1763-91126.
Yeah, you approved back in 2017, as you may recall, this agreement for the Workforce Children with Special Needs Program. This particular agreement included a $26,000, and this addendum brings that $26,000 to $38,000. There's additional $12,000 that can be used for this program. And so you may recall the program is to allow parents have the ability to participate in the workforce program when they have children with disabilities. And that is the gist of the program itself.
You remember all that?
Yep, that's good.
Okay, so that brings us to commissioner items, and then at 3 o'clock, that's number 7, and then 3 o'clock we have a public hearing, and that's for Public and Social Services, a public hearing on amendment number 1, the fiscal year 2016 HUD action plan. I think...
Yes, as you may recall, this allocation of money goes from city to city every year, and 1 year goes to the South counties.
Yeah.
And in 2016 was the time in which the South counties identified projects to use this particular funding. Through that process, I believe one of those projects didn't materialize, and the money came back to the pot. Late last year, we had a conversation with the South County mayors, and we agreed to support the city of Tenino with $215,000 for the quarry pool renovation, and as well as to the town of Yokota, with $56,000 to mitigate the gap they have on the water line replacement. Gary Aiden is here if you want to have additional questions on that. Anyways, you review this item. This is just for your public hearing on this particular item.
Any comments?
No.
None for me. Nope.
Alrighty, I think we'll move on to B, and this is, it doesn't have the title on my page, but nonetheless, it's the adopt the budget amendment number 5 for the biennial budget.
There's a public hearing where you consider public testimony on the proposed budget amendments. We call it number 5 because we are in a biennial budget. In this,
Move away from
Yeah.
the quarterly
Yeah.
designation.
Oh, yeah.
So, and again, we'll revise the actions because one should be closed to public hearing, and the other one will be for your consideration, depending on the public testimony, that perhaps you may adopt the budget amendment as presented to you.
Sure. Any comments or questions? I do have one thing. For administrative purposes, I want to take B and put it to A and A to B to B. Does that make sense? I want to flip them. Yeah. It shouldn't have any harm, I just for paperwork purposes. Huh? Can you do that? Okay, we jump to 5:30. At 5:30 we have another public hearing.
Yeah, this is for you to consider
Oh my gosh.
renewing the interim regulation for marijuana operations. And again, as you may recall, this interim regulation goes for 6 months. And nothing has changed from the current interim regulation that is in place. And depending on the public testimony this afternoon, you may take an action to approve the ordinance to have the interim regulation for another 8 months. 6 months. Sorry,
I was gonna say,
6 months.
shoo.
6 months.
Yeah.
The intent will be that hopefully we don't get to another interim
We're
regulation.
going to stop the
And you may consider adopting a permanent regulation prior to the
Almost
additional
there.
6 months.
Almost there.
So I will revise the action as well because it should include 2. It will be 1 to close the public hearing, and the other one, again, depending on the public testimony that you receive, for you to consider approving the interim regulation.
Any comments for Josh and Jeremy?
No.
Nope, by the way, good work.
You try dialoguing it out.
Yeah, they're stressed the same.
Hmm?
That's okay.
Oh, yeah. He's got into a uniform.
Okay, that was fun. So let's move on to May 8th, if there are no other questions or comments about May 1st. And we move to May 8th. And we'll start with May 8th is ask Commissioner Edwards to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Move to approve the agenda that day if there are no changes. And any minutes on May 1st at that time. On May 8th, we have two proclamations. And, one of them is the Bicycle Commuter Month proclamation. And I think Romero's going to frame that, and Duncan comes and usually receives that. I forget Duncan's. Green, thank you. His last name, yeah. So I don't know if he's scheduled to be here, but he is.
We'll arrange for him to be here.
Yeah.
If not, also Chris Hawkins.
Oh, Chris, yep, he's.
We'll organize for him. I think if anything, he is the I guess the poster child of bicycling
For the county, yeah.
I think we ought to have his picture up on the wall for that myself.
Okay, so with that proclamation, then we'll move into the Community Planning and Economic Development Thurston County Adaptation Award.
Yeah,
Allison Osterberg, yeah?
Yeah, this is a great national award the Thurston Regional Planning Council received, and this is related to the Thurston Climate Adaptation Plan.
Yeah, fantastic.
And, so Allison will walk you through, frame the presentation. I believe TRPC staff will be also here to tell you the details of this award.
Any comments or questions? All right, can't wait. I want to hear about it. So then opportunity for the public to address the board, and skip through that because we usually don't know too far out. And the county managers update. Have anything that's forecasted? For
If you will receive public testimony this afternoon, if I need to follow up, I will follow up next week on that.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. Okay, so I'm on number 3, which is the consent items A through F. The first one is the sheriff, a resolution establishing positions of sergeants.
Yeah. So, and I believe that is the reason why the sheriff's office is here. So I will ask Mr. Jim Brynett and the sheriff to come and help us.
Oh my gosh.
Sure. And well, they sit comfortably in front of you. Let me frame you that conversation.
Sure.
A couple of weeks ago, I believe 3 weeks ago, you adopted a resolution where you created 2 new road deputies. And that was a request as to how the sheriff's office needs additional deputies on the road. I did brief you. The sheriff's office was coming back to you with 2 operation sergeant positions, which at that point I mentioned to you that I was a little bit concerned since the objective was to add additional road deputies to patrol, and it seems to me that now we put in 2 positions to be supervisor. So which
Both or one?
Sergeants. So that was the perspective that I offered to you. I follow up with the undersheriff on the conversation, and he's ready to clarify any questions and maybe give you additional perspective as to the intent of this particular request.
Hi,
Thank
Sheriff.
you.
Yeah, good morning.
This here. What is it on?
I hear you.
You hear me?
You're good. You're good.
So I'll let the undersheriff brief you on this. I just want to make it very clear that prior to any of you three arriving to your current positions, I did eliminate 4 lieutenant positions and 1 captain position within the operations of the sheriff's office, and also eliminated a captain position within the corrections division to reduce the management. But since then, we are finding that we want to make sure we also meet legal standards within law enforcement and CJTC standards that are expected by the legislature. So I'll let the sheriff explain.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
For the record, I'm Tim Brannon, Thurston County Under Sheriff, serving Sheriff John Snoza. What you're going to be provided with is a justification brief, reclassification of 2 positions. I know that we had asked for recently 2 positions that we would pay for throughout our budget, be based on the entries in the academy and the tenure of the individuals that we're currently hiring, in which we still have 1 position to hire because we are losing a deputy June 1st. Her husband's being transferred, and basically she's going with him, which is understandable. With that being said, what you're being provided with is just to answer some of your questions. Also, our current staffing level is about, which indicates it's about 42 deputies working. We have 52 authorized positions. We have 3 on long-term injuries at this time, 4 in the academy, which we don't expect them to graduate until a couple of them August and September, and then they go out on their field training again, which pushes it back until we have bodies on the road. In the hiring process, we have 1 plus 1, or 3 basically that are in the hiring process, and hopefully we'll get them on board. 2 of which are entry level, and the likelihood of them being in the August class or the August class is slim, but we're hoping with the way things are going, they're being bumped up at least about a month. So we're asking for the reclassification of 2 deputies to sergeant. This is not an addition to. These are just basically to fill on the second sheet, the second packet that I handed out. Basically, we have 5 different start times for our squads. We have a green team and a gold team, which are on the left and the right, and then in between is the current span of control. And what we're facing right now with the 1400 sergeant that comes on based on the remaining members of the squads that are on from 8 a.m. and then the ones that start at 09:20, there's about a span of control of about 11. And what we're trying to do is reduce that span of control to 5 or 6 per sergeant. And that way, for not only for evaluation purposes, but also for just risk and liability. On the second page of the initial justification brief, we have the pros and the cons. Basically, right now that we've identified some of the pros which would reduce the span of control, especially during our busiest times of the year, our busiest times of the day, which is 1400 to approximately 03, 0400 at night, and that's when the majority of our things happen out there on the road. Reclassifying the 2 positions, it does not add additional deputies. They are a part of the minimum staffing. They are a part of doing the work out on the road. It just increases the amount of supervision that we have out there.
I'm going to interrupt. The sergeants are part of minimum staffing?
Yes, they are.
Okay, thank you.
It maintains the same amount of coverage. It's just we're increasing the oversight and reducing the liability and risk to the county and the agency itself. It allows for some overlapping of our supervisory coverage for continuity, based on, especially on our Wednesdays when all the sergeants are working. We can conduct supervisory meetings every other week. We can conduct emphasis in any kind of training that we are required to maintain and to include the supervisory training. Command and control, again, when we have a serious incident, like we've had several lately, officer-involved shootings, whatever the homicides or things like that, it allows one of the sergeants for a short period of time to cover that scene and the other sergeant to still control what's going on out in the field. And I bring that as to the attention because of an incident that just happened in the beginning of January up in Pierce County, where the supervisor was at another additional scene covering and assisting the city of Tacoma when they had an officer-involved shooting and it resulted in the death of Deputy McCartney. So this gives us an opportunity at times to have 2 sergeants out there on the road. Expands the training and instructor opportunities in the field. Again, it provides movement within the agency itself. It expands the specialty positions. Reduces our TPI pay when we do have a supervisor that calls in sick or is on some sort of leave. We're paying a deputy for the acting position. which is still the same costs that were recurring.
Is that out of class pay? TPI, is that
Yes.
that
Yeah, it's active
temporary?
position.
Okay.
And it reduces the overtime because of the additional sergeants that we have coming in versus having to call one in when we need one to come in. Some of the cons for it are that it limits the promotional process because they are younger in the agency, and they'll either be sergeants or lieutenants for quite some time, but it also is another positive that's setting the agency up for success for the future of the agency. All these individuals that are on the current promotional list and above have been trained in mid to upper level management courses, including our gold training, which is leadership and police organization, and LEADER, which is law enforcement executive development, and are in compliance with the academy itself. Another con is that its approximate cost of $26,000 per year, which we would accrue take on the expenses throughout the year, but it would be, part of the expenses for the 1920 budget that's coming out this year, and then reduces the office space.
Under mutual aid, when you send deputies to the port or Mayday down to Olympia to help out in a supportive role, and 5 or 6 go, depending on how many go, does a sergeant go with them to supervise them, or do they act under the supervision of the agency they're working for?
Actually, I was going to brief the county manager on the details of that later on, because there is some confidential information in that.
Okay.
Our plan for that.
And I'm not asking about the plan, but do we typically send then, for the span of control and liability, do we send a supervisor with the deputies?
Yes, we have a lieutenant and a sergeant part of that civil response team.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Nope, I'm good.
This balances out the organization out in the field, field operations. The sheriff has indicated this will be the last promotion. I did discuss this, I believe it was on November 28th of last year that this was coming, and I believe again when I briefed the board and individually back in January.
Yeah, I do have a question.
I knew you would.
How does the current staffing level stack up compared statewide with other sheriff's offices?
Our staffing level is still the lowest in the state for out of 39 sheriffs, over 39. So we are the lowest. We're still consistent with which we were in 1995. And that's as far back as I can go back to show the actual data that we have still. We're still back to 1995 staff.
And that's per 1,000 population served in the county, right?
Per 1,000, and we're also now, back then, we didn't have the ability to keep track of actually how many calls and whether we were writing reports or how we were actually doing business. There are some calls that Thurston County Communications did keep track of. We still keep track of those calls, but we keep better track of them in the last 5 or 6 years as far as how they pertain to what Thurston County's response is versus what a call was that came in and was handled by a dispatcher now.
And so it doesn't go solely by the population, it's the police allocation model, the best practice?
We use the police allocation model because we feel that it best describes our situation in Thurston County. It's still a national standard that agencies, whether it be sheriff's office or city agencies, they still use the per 1,000 model as more of a articulable reason as to why they ask for what they ask for. Unfortunately, in the past, I don't believe it has worked well with Thurston County, and being able to better describe Thurston County's situation, I believe that the police allocation model makes that, because it is also interactive with not only the county commissioners who are able to participate, but anybody in under your commission that can look at it and say why we need what we need and where our most calls for service are, and we can also use the time of days So it fits the needs of Thurston County, is what I believe the police allocation model means. And it isn't very indicative of why you should say why you need so many deputies per 1,000, because you can't really divide 0.85 deputies per 1,000, and right now we're 0.48.
And being a capital county, we have higher needs or demands than other counties in the state too.
Absolutely, but I do believe that with the police allocation model that we are currently using, it better depicts a picture, if you will, or what actually occurs in Thurston County on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. And so it better informs you as the commission onto how to best allocate why we need the resources that we need. And hopefully it sets a standard for other agencies to want to follow what we're trying to do to give a better presentation of what law enforcement really looks like in Thurston County.
I guess that becomes quite complicated when you use that formula, but for simplicity, would you basically say that you have less than 1/2 of an officer per 1,000 population served here in Thurston County?
Yes, sir.
And what would you say those agencies that have a, I don't know if you want to use a local agency, Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, what kind of a comparison would that be, do you know?
Well, I guess I could, I'll use Lacey. Lacey has about 1.5 officers per 1,000, and they answer almost 30,000 calls less for service.
Okay.
I guess that's probably the simplest way I could put it.
Yeah, just gives an example.
It gives an example.
Yeah.
And Lacey Police Department will probably be, in the next couple of years, the largest police agency in Thurston County, based on their growth.
So it'll be Lacey and beyond.
If you're looking for tourists.
Okay. I'm good with it. I just wish we could do a little more.
Yeah.
Us too. Can I add just a couple of quick things to add to that? Those calls for service have increased drastically. One of the things that that has dedicated our time out on the road is our collisions. Just last year, we had 63 DUI-related collisions, and having that analyst has been able to identify that some of these are basically consuming alcohol in the cities and then driving out the county to their residents, and then getting in collisions. We had 13 fatalities last year, 13 deaths in Thurston County that we investigated. And not only is it the impact on the families as well as the other resources in the community and friends and loved ones, but also the time and the effort that it takes to make sure that we do a thorough investigation. And it's not something that is basically a crime scene that's out on the road that takes the time, not including the 8 other homicides that we had throughout the year in the county. So it's just, we're also assisting, like today, a large amount of manpower, and that's going to be used to assist downtown Olympia, as well as the different variety of groups and assets that we use, whether it's the Marine Services, the dive team, the SWAT team, and things like that. And we're reactive, and you just never know when those resources are going to be called out and dedicated to a specific incident itself. And like the sheriff has explained, that once we dedicate those resources, we're taking other resources away from the people themselves out there in the public.
Thank you. Wonderful information. Yep.
Just to recap this item, this will be for your consideration next Tuesday, May 8th. If there's any additional questions, certainly I can follow up with the Sheriff's Office. The reason as to why we need to create those 2 positions is because the promotional cannot just happen while 2 individuals are occupying those 2 positions. And we worked this with Katie Gerard, that we need to create those 2 new sergeant positions. Those individuals will be promoted, and the positions they leave behind will be eliminated. That is the steps that we need to take. Just want to make sure that
It's not 4.
so,
Correct.
that is the intent of this request. And again, you heard from the undersheriff, the impact on the 2018 budget is $26,000. That's the difference between the road deputy and the sergeants. That is
On those 2 positions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And the sheriff's office is planning to cover that additional $26,000 with the current allocation in 2018. But as you've heard from the undersheriff, 2019 and 2020, that will be an additional request, along with the other deputies to be approved. That's what I encapsulated.
If I could add the part.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're in the corrections, because I'm concerned about the corrections field. Because I know that's about 8 or so, if my memory serves me, and I know that's getting dangerous close to not having the workforce that we need. So.
I do agree with that, and I think tomorrow we're getting a staffing study come back, and then hopefully we'll be able to address the commission on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, tomorrow you'll have some recommendations that will be presented in front of you as a result of the study.
Yeah, sure.
And the staff is prepared to give you some options after that.
All right, I think we're good, right?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was item 3A. We're moving to item 3B, which is Public Works. This is a resolution reclassifying position also.
Right now, the
solid waste.
The department has an education and outreach specialist, 1 position vacant, and they have gone through the process of evaluating what will be the best possible position, and they concluded with human resources to reclassify this position to an assistant planner. And the assistant planner will be the point of contact with the SWAC, that's the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and the impact of this item will be just about 10% on the budget. It will be covered by the tip-in fees, which is part of the solid waste funds. No additional budget is requested and no impacts on the general fund.
Any questions about
No.
that? Good on 3B. 3C is community planning and economic development, another reclassification.
This is a request for you to consider reclassifying an administrative assistant 1 to an administrative assistant 2. And this is again an effort your new director, Joshua Cummings, is going through assessing what will be the best suited classifications to make his department more efficient. So this item will result on $499 a month of 10%. They will go from $4,860 to $5,359 a month. And at this point, the department is not requesting additional budget allocation. They will be able to cover within the current budget.
Any comments, questions, concerns?
No.
Do those job descriptions change for that individual?
Yeah, the admin to the position aligns more to the duties that person's already doing. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Good.
Yep.
3C, again, community planning and economic development. Is this?
D.
Yeah, this is a request
Yeah,
for you
3D.
to approve a final plat.
D,
of
yeah, 3D, sorry.
Maxwell Hill, and this is a development that includes 80 acres, and the plan is to have 16 residential lots as a result of the final plat, and have 2 resource parcels set aside. With those 2 resource parcels equates to 62 acres. So the majority of this plat is the resource parcels. Staff has gone through the process and determined that this particular plat and development has met all the requirements, and is up for your consideration to approve it.
Would this be classified as a cluster?
What?
I don't believe so.
Oh,
I
cluster housing.
I don't believe so, Commissioner.
Okay. Okay. How many acres are set aside?
That's 80.
So out of the 80 acres,
Yeah.
they're coming up with 16 residential lots, and they have 2 large parcels for resource parcels, which those 2 equates to 62 acres.
62 acres, okay. No, I'm
So
good.
that
And also, if I may, at some point, I'd like to engage the commission, not necessarily on this particular item, in the overall approving the final plans. The past legislature
Show me where
gave you
that's
the
at,
authority
Ryan.
to delegate that authority to staff if you wish. So those items will be signed by the person you delegate to.
Oh.
And that is an option that you have. I'd like to probably bring that to your attention at some point.
Who would that
See where you
person-
wanna go.
who would that
I'm
person
not-
be?
I'm just giving you the
need to talk
parameters
about
of the law. At this point, I don't have any suggestions.
It's just the option to be able to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Good,
Talk
thank
about it
you.
later. So that was 3D, and moving to 3E, which is pretrial services, and the case management system.
Yeah, this is a case management system. You may recall maybe a couple of months ago, you had a briefing from the prosecuting attorney's office as well as the Office of Public Defense and Pretrial Services. They are embarking on this endeavor to have
No, I
a
know
case
right where it's
management
at.
system that actually
This is where I took you
talks
and
to the different offices.
showed you the view of the mountain.
And one of the
That's right.
alternatives was to wait until the prosecutor's office and the public defense get their case management system in place, and the pretrial services will go in and use that system. But the timing was not there. The timing and where the prosecutor attorneys as well as the Office of Public Defense in securing the case management system is going to be probably 2 years from now. It wasn't meeting the needs of pretrial services. So you authorize going through a bidding process to secure this case management system. And they have received 5 vendors. And they're asking for purchase this particular application with Automon C pretrial application for $38,500. And again, one of the advantages of this particular application, I guess one of the requirements of this application was they eventually will talk to the larger case management system that will be purchased by the prosecuting attorneys and the Office of Public Defense. That is the background of that.
This is just very simple. In looking at the motion, is it Ottoman CE pretrial? Is that the name of the company? What's CE mean? Is that part of the company then?
That's part of the name. I can't find
Okay.
out what CE means.
I didn't know if it was a typo or what,
No,
but
that's
thank
the
you.
actual name.
Okay.
All righty. So that's 3E, 3F is the auditor and financial services. So I'm going to move on to department items, which is number 4. We have, this should be the sheriff, corrections.
Yeah, this is for your proposal to approve a new jail standards. Let me give you a little bit of a background, and Chief Thomas here to answer additional questions if you may. This is a long time coming. The last time that the Board of County Commissioners approved a jail standards was back in 1988, and obviously those are outdated and need to be revised and aligned to industry standards. So Chief Thomas here to give you the details of that.
Well, thank you. Again, Todd Thomas with the Sheriff's Office, Chief Deputy of Corrections. I would also like to introduce Captain Jim Downey and Lieutenant Sean Ball, who actually carried the burden of this project. They did an outstanding job. So, like the county manager said, we're scheduled to go before you next Tuesday, but we thought it would be beneficial to come before you today and answer any questions you may have. Again, and I provided some information, I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to receive it or not, but in 1987, essentially the state sunsetted or eliminated all state jail standards and essentially enacted RCW 7048071, which essentially said any governing body that owns and operates a jail needs to adopt a set of standards. Well, Thurston County did that in December of 1988, and they adopted a set of standards that, quite honestly, we've tried to do some research and we can't figure out where they came from. They look like an old WAC, but they're associated with the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs that can't seem to find a history on it either. So again, they haven't been
That was a long time ago,
it
Todd.
was a very long time ago, so they haven't
Perhaps
changed
you
since
remember.
then. So that has become problematic in the sense that, again, as a county, RCW. So Captain Downing and Lieutenant Ball took on this project and reached out to other agencies that had already, and we're not the only county in the state that has been dealing with this issue. So we reached out to a couple of agencies that had already addressed this, Kitsap County, Clark County, and also the SCORE facility up north. And we kind of used what they did as a boilerplate. And using that and also the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, WASPIC accreditation standard, we developed some local standards that we are asking to be adopted. And we believe that they are best practice, they meet industry standards, and again, we believe that they will meet the test of time, because some of the things that were adopted back in the 80s, and again, just a snapshot of a WAC, were more procedural based and very specific in their direction, which really isn't a standard. So we develop more of a standard base that puts the ownership more on the Sheriff's Office and the Corrections Bureau to have specific policies and procedures and certain critical areas. Just to give you an example, records maintaining, or the maintaining of records, training, overcrowding, use of force, medical, mental health, those type of things. So again, these standards direct us to have policies and procedures in certain specific areas. So again, they were designed purposely to be more broad-based, to again meet the standard of time, and they didn't have to keep changing over and over again. And again, our internal policies and procedures would then, work from those standards, and we would update those and review those on an annual basis. And just one more thing, they have been reviewed by our legal counsel, Rick Peters, and they've also been reviewed by those that have registered.
Hasn't our jail been accredited ever before?
It has not.
It never has been?
We have been working for years with WASPIC to develop accreditation standards for jails. Those came into being about 2 years ago, and our agency is working to meet those accreditation standards with the hope of being accredited in the future. There are some issues that we have to find some resolution to meet the standards, actually some newly adopted standards, but it's not something I don't feel is insurmountable. It's a matter of the population management that we're addressing through JPCAT.
Right. And has our Sheriff's Department been accredited, though?
Our Sheriff's Office was at one time accredited, and at the time, Sheriff Kimball decided not to have it re-accredited, and so we are currently going through new policy and procedures to ensure that we are, hopefully will be up for re-accreditation. Available. It'll be done by the end of this year, so we'll hopefully be able to get accredited next year. Also, just to let you know, Chief Toma is on a accreditation committee for other corrections facilities. The big difference is that there hasn't been a facility accredited that actually is in my real jail. I mean, he was talking about SCORE, but SCORE does not house, they house misdemeanors. And so they do take DOC, but they don't take felons, and they from other agencies within that area that like we do. So little different operator standards that they go by.
Yeah, and I worked with.
Clallam County.
Clallam.
It's the one county that has been accredited.
And I did some work with WASPIC on their accreditation of other departments around the state, and it's exceedingly cumbersome and time-consuming. But my question is when, and that's valuable work that you're doing, Chief, but when you do, when the Sheriff's Department gets accredited, is it completely separate from the correction facility or the jail then, or is it part and parcel of the Sheriff's Department?
They are separate, and that was one of the efforts to the statewide movement to develop a set of jail accreditations. Because what was happening is the agency was getting accredited, but the Corrections Bureau was not. So
Okay.
efforts statewide with a number of jail managers at the oversight of Boston, we were able to do.
Okay, thank you.
I will say, there were no jails accredited in those days when the sheriff's office was accredited.
I would just like to add is that this has just started happening in the last 5 years. That we've really, Washington has really started to pay more attention to corrections facilities as well as sheriff's offices and police agencies. And a lot of it has to do with is that a lot of corrections facilities are being turned over to the county commission or city council.
That's where I'm going to go. Okay, so I have a question. Can you cite now or in the future where this RCW or a RCW says that a board of county commissioners has to make a motion to approve the jail standards? Is there RCW saying that?
In speaking with our legal counsel, they felt that this was something that needed to be adopted by the board. Again, the opening sentence in the standard of the RCW itself says all units of local government that own or operate adult correctional facilities shall individually and collectively adopt standards for the operation of those facilities.
And that can be independently the sheriff's office. Any sheriff, or anybody. I love Sheriff Snozzle to death, but any future sheriff. I just wonder why that whole relationship is, because he is an elected official and has the power of the jail more than, say, the 3 county commissioners.
I think that's a question to follow up on.
I just want to get it in the right spot.
The assumption that, based on the language, that it was the county adopting these set of standards.
Sure. I guess that's the
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the right authority at the right spot. That's all I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
The legal suggestion was to bring in front of you because the nexus is the funding and the budget. Because some of those stars may have budget implications.
I'm not so worried about that.
So that's the nexus as to, at least from what I understand, from Elizabeth, is because you oversee the overall budget.
But that's no different than any other.
Exactly.
But still, this is more of a sheriff law enforcement.
I just give you the perspective of where that comes from.
Robin's biting at the bit. So.
Just to add.
I'm not trying to cause havoc. I'm just trying to put it in the right spot.
Right. Just to add, though, it's the Board of County Commissioners that sets policy for the entire county, including elected offices.
Sure, but okay, I'll table it for discussion later on. I think it draws out to a more of an approach of this discussion.
What I would like to add to the commission is that it also sets a standard for the sheriff, and a standard that I want to share to the commission, so that if there are questions about our operating procedure or how we do business, that it is reflected that we operate on a policy that has also been passed through you as a reason as to why we're doing what we're doing. And if another, I hope it doesn't happen for a long time, but if another sheriff were to come through here, I'm sure that individual would then maybe want to change a policy or the SOP on how it is perceived. And to be very frank, I perceive that there will be changes within the next 8 to 10 years.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Here's my word, and I'll just lay it on the table. The whole notion of county commissioners overseeing jails. I think that's not what this board is about. I know Spokane may or may not do it, but I do not. I don't like going that route, and that scares me with this particular aspect. That creeps into that. And I've always been separating that. Robin and Romero know that from 4 years back that I have where county commissioners do their part as far as budgeting policy, I got it, but where certain things kind of creep into the commissioner's area as far as standards, when they belong more to, say, the assessor, auditor, sheriff, whatever it be, they need to be focal point on that, and that's kind of my concern. So we can talk about it later on.
I definitely appreciate that approach as well.
Yeah, I want to give you all the blessings of the world, but I just don't want it to come to the commissioners and make those kind of decisions when we're not qualified. You are. Everybody that wears a uniform more so than. Well, they could in the past history, but now, but currently, see what I'm saying? I just had that as my only concern about this. Go ahead.
How about if Chief Toma and myself follow up with the prosecuting attorney's office to determine whether it's a requirement for you to approve this,
Yeah.
or more is a
Budgetary
desire,
piece I got.
or
Not a
a
problem.
desire
Policy
that
overall
perhaps
is-
just to bring a little more larger umbrella.
Okay.
So we'll follow up on that.
Thank you for listening. Okay, I got two of them now.
I guess you started off, Todd, with something there that the
Sorry, everything is there.
governing body shall or something, but you didn't have an RCW
That's my point.
when you started off. Is there a specific RCW that actually addresses that and states that's a requirement?
The RCW we refer back to was 7048071. And that's what I read that opening sentence out of.
And that stems directly from RCW 7048071.
Correct.
Okay. And then I'll just say that I'm not interested in micromanaging
Oh, no.
how the sheriff conducts his business, regardless of what it is.
Oh, my God, no, that's not the
So,
point, is it?
yeah.
I guess the best word I'm trying to use is authority or elected authority usage of this is what I'm trying to get. That's all.
I appreciate that.
We'll follow up.
Sure.
And so food for thought for me to chew on. I'm just beginning my 17th month in this position, and I don't recall either the coroner or the assessor or auditor or prosecutor clerk's office coming in and we've approved their standards. So have we done that in the past, where all those standards from every department, from electeds and such, come to us for approval? Or is this a standalone?
The answer is no.
No, we have not.
No, but it's different for the jail because you're required by statutory to hold a jail, and so that there, how the budget and monies are appropriated to the sheriff and all the pieces that go with that. That's a little bit different than what.
That begs more questions. Well, I'll wait for discussion later down the road.
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate thing. So.
But it's your business, not mine.
Right.
This RCW is not clear whether it's the sheriff's office or the counties, but it does state the counties shall adopt the standards, and
Okay.
you know, and I think I think the attorney should probably consider whether counties is you as a legislative authority,
Yeah.
or the sheriff's office as independent elected officials. But it does state in this statute, the
Got it.
RCW 7048071, that it states the county shall adopt standards after considering guidelines established collectively by counties and
So
states.
let's work on that and come back, and then we'll just figure out where that lands. And
But it does not designate what county means at that particular
Well,
point,
that-
whether it's the county
What is-
sheriff is the
what is
administrator of the
definition of
sheriff's office?
counties?
That's right.
That's the answer we're going to be seeking in next week.
so we
All
have
right.
high standards. we want the best. We have the best workforce and we want the highest standards. Anything else?
I might add, in 1988, when that was done, there were no standards.
Oh, well.
I
We won't
think
stand.
that was the nexus.
Well, there were standards, but just very low.
Yeah. All right.
So we'll table this item, whether it's part of your agenda next week or not, depending on the answer from the
Yeah, yes.
prosecutor.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
Be safe out there
Have
today.
fun and be safe, yep.
Come on back now.
Thank you.
It is May Day, you're right. Okay, so where do we go with this? Let's see. That was correction. No, by the way, can we change the department item from corrections to sheriff? Is that the more appropriate title for that? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I'm on item number 5, which is Public Works, an interlocal agreement between the City of Tenino and Thurston County in support of cooperative provision of available resources, maintenance of county property within the Tenino City Park. What is all
What
that?
is this about?
Yeah, this is related to the memorial wall.
Oh.
The City of Tenino is planning to implement, and I believe this agreement is to give the authority for the City of Tenino to maintain that infrastructure that's going to be built on the trail property.
Any objections?
Well, no. And we will sign this next Tuesday,
Yeah, this is,
allegedly,
Yeah, allegedly.
yeah,
Mhm.
for your consideration next Tuesday.
because next Tuesday evening, I'm on the agenda at the Tenino City Council meeting to give the results of that discussion.
So, yeah.
Okay.
All righty. 5B, which is a resolution call for seal bids, fish passage again.
On the item 5A here, we need to make sure that agreement goes on next week.
I'm on 5B with the fish passage
Yeah.
seal bids.
5B and, if I may, 5C
Yeah, you might as well.
are really related to going out to call for seal bids to secure the services for installing the fish passage culverts. And again, those are the 5. There's 2, and later I believe 5B is number 5. And this is again to secure the partition bids.
So we're just kind of grouping them together all at once.
And
there's 5
yeah.
of them.
So we'll bring that, maybe 5E becomes a 5D.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Gary has a comment.
Who might be, what type of a outfit is going to be doing this? So I take it the county itself is not going to be installing these bridges once they come from prefab, and we have those. It's going to be up to a separate contractor to
Install it.
put those in place? Was that always the plan, to do that?
Yeah, and as you may, let me give you a little bit of history on that and requirements. What we call is county forces. County forces is all the maintenance staff that does work in improvements such as this. A state law put a limit as to how much county forces can do based on the population. And for instance, in our case, our limit is $1.8 million a year. Considering this is work beyond that, we couldn't use county forces to do that work.
Even, and that makes the 5 projects total out more, and that's what they're basing it on, rather than how much this one project is going to cost? I mean, if I don't know what this one project is going to cost. If we go out for a bid, it's going to be more than the 1.4 million? Is this going to be a bid just for the one location?
No.
Or all of the
I'm sorry,
locations?
it's item B, C, and the commissioner.
Okay, so it's all consolidated.
5.
Oh, okay.
Comprehensive plan.
Yep, okay.
It's
That's
all 5.
that's what I want to know.
All right.
That's the request. Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
So I think I'm on 6 now.
That will
Oh,
be
no,
a-
no, 5B.
Yeah, and
Chip seal for
this
the
is yearly
The Doolittle construction.
request to, you authorize going to, for bids, maybe a couple weeks ago, for the 2018 chip seal program. And this is, the department's requesting the authorization to award the contract to Doolittle Construction from Bellevue, Washington, for the amount of $1,991,393. And the department's requesting an additional 10% to cover any uninspected aggregates for a total cost of $2,190,532.74. And those will be covered by the road fund. Is already within the budget.
No.
We're good. All righty. I think now we're on 6 central services. That we got all the fish passages out of the way. And 6 central services, authorized central services director advertise request for qualifications to select consultants, engineering services for renewal of repairing. What project is this?
There's not a specific project. It's just to secure the services of a consultant to because in all the facilities that we have, every once in a while we need for somebody to help us remodel the small areas. For instance, right now we're considering.
Is this going out for RFP right now?
This is just to request to go with an RFP.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't even
Request for
have
qualifications.
qualifications.
And as soon as we receive the bids, so
Maybe
the
get it all
contract,
done.
and then
This is for local repair in the buildings here?
for all the facilities the county owns. For instance, right now we have secure the services of an architect who is looking at the option on building 2 to see if we can create a small courtroom for district court. And And we have worked with district court in a way to look at some of the existing space that perhaps they don't need it. And the architect is helping us to move walls and doing all the design. That is the purpose of this request for.
So this is not specific to any just ongoing repairs and maintenance?
Maintenance and maintenance.
It does not include that? Or it does?
No, the repairs and maintenance, no. This is more for a specific design services.
All right. Thank you.
Alrighty, so that's the end of May 8th, and I know we need a break, but I'm going to push through to the Board of Health and get to clear the first 3 items on the pre-agenda. So I'm going to go with the Board of Health, and then we'll take a break.
Can I have one question? Why is it that the central services isn't part of the consent item portion of this? Is there a dollar amount that designates something special?
Well, because some of the questions that you have,
okay.
it will be worth the public to understand what the purpose is.
Okay, good enough.
But certainly, if you can want to move to consent.
No, just wondering why. I don't want to disrupt anything. Just learning curve.
Okay, here we are with the Board of Health, and this is the Board of
By law.
Health for May 8th at 3:30, and call the meeting to order and approve the make a motion to approve that current agenda and any meeting minutes for April 10th, and work session summaries for April 3rd and April 10th. And so with that in mind, we move to item number 2, which will be proclamations and presentations. And the first proclamation we have is Drinking Water Week, and that is super cool. And we have Art, and who's going to just kind of open up the discussion. Who's going to do it? And you see it?
So we asked actually someone from the Thurston County PUD to come and accept it because they run a wild water supply in the county. They seem like a good choice.
And do you by chance know who that person would be?
We're double checking, but I think it's going to be their director, John.
Oh, John. Yeah. John, very well. So. Alrighty. Have we done a Drinking Water Week proclamation ever?
I think we had something to acknowledge it, but we didn't do a proclamation.
This is an inauguration of it.
This is the first one.
Kind of interesting that Drinking Water Week falls within Summit Lake Algae Week, huh?
Interesting how
Yeah. I wasn't going to bring it up.
not all drinking water is as good as others. But yeah.
Okay. Any other comments about Drinking Water Week? Let's move on to the other proclamation, which is Nurses Week. And I see Shelley here, but there's Bonnie and Kathy and maybe even Gretchen. I don't know. Can you walk us through this?
Gretchen will not be available for this, but yes, Bonnie and Kathy will be there to accept the proclamation.
Yeah, good.
Okay. How about the other nurses? Will they be able to come? I'm just curious.
I think that there will be multiple other nurses that will be there as their schedule permits because they're also out doing visits with clients.
Yeah, sure. Just want to take care of everybody.
And then, sir, you had requested that we move Mental Health Awareness Week and Mental Health Awareness Month and Better Hearing Month to a BoCC agenda.
Later in the month?
We're going to be doing that, yes.
Some later. Okay, but yeah,
yes,
sometime later in the
you had
month.
seen a draft agenda in which those were on there. We moved those to your request.
Okay, that'd be great. You understand what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
There were 4 proclamations. This thing she and I decided, well, she let me decide. We're going to do 2.
Spread the wealth.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
We don't have a tracker jam.
Yeah.
All right. How about the opportunity for the public to address the health board? Anything you know of?
I'm not aware of anything, but some lake sometimes brings people out.
Sure.
We have.
All right. Let's move into department items, which is the Providence Community Care Center update. And I see you're on there, but also TJ LaRock. You want to kind of give us a little bit of background on that?
At the last Board of Health meeting, we had Sue.
Okay, so
Sue Beal, that
this is you're doing this one.
Center to give an update. They had intended to provide a longer update initially, and so we're coming back to just do kind of first 2 of that.
Yeah.
TJ will be there to speak about it.
Okay. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, sure. So item number 5, which is the Thurston Thrives Action Team, and Prosecuting Attorney John Tuneheim is going to talk about, I think, the HOPE under the Law and Justice format of the action teams, right?
Yes, as co-chair of the Law and Justice Council, Prosecutor Jim Heim is going to be sharing about the HOPE initiative, HOPE Thurston, and the efforts of the committee that have been working to do that and bring a survey to all of Thurston County.
Okay. Got tears? What's that?
No, just pass.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions on HOPE? So I'm on number 6, which is now we're at the drinking water program update, and this is different than the proclamation, but this is what we do for as a county, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the staff that's involved and the actions we do.
Yes, you had requested these 2 topics. Art, did you say that you had some questions regarding
Just,
what
so,
Commissioners need to do?
yeah, well, is there any, we were just planning to do kind of an update on or provide an overview of the program and how we work with our partners to help assure that people have safe, reliable drinking water sources in the county, and that includes the state and information we provide to the general public. So it's just should be a high-level overview just to let people, tell people what we do and why we do it.
Okay.
Anything in particular you want us to address, I'd be happy to try to fit that in.
Not so much the drinking water, but I do have a question later on. I'll save it, see if we can answer here in just a second, because I see another water monitoring safety thing here. Any questions about drinking water?
No.
If you're wondering why the water, because it's spring going into summertime, and the whole drinking water, swimming in lakes, and all that kind of stuff. So. All right, so item number 7, surface water monitoring and safety, and this is where I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but I know you're fluent on it, and include a statement or 2 about lakes and swimming in lakes and stuff. But I don't know if this is the appropriate time in number 7 to do that. So, because it's surface water versus swimming water.
Yeah. So well, it's the same thing. So we were going to talk briefly about the different programs we have and why we do them, and we can put in a little bit of information about lakes and swimming safety and where people can go to find information about lakes and algae blooms and all that. So we can build that in.
For pre-summer activities and summer activities, that's one thing. Health-wise.
Yeah, if you're going to go into that water quality issue with the lakes and stuff, I'd like to have some history as to what we know about this algae business and the toxicity that develops, what the connections are, what the science has behind it, what actually causes it, or we don't know what actually causes it, or
we don't know.
Sure, but at least not only just from the Thurston County Health Department, but the state, national ecology, whatever. Just I don't want to hear about we don't know just Thurston County. If we don't know, I want it to be, well, who does know? If nobody knows,
Yeah, so
what kind of research might be going on? What resources are available that people might want to go to do a little research on their own?
right. So what I can do is I'll talk to Jane Mountjoy Manning will be presenting this item, and what we can try to do is put in a link on a slide and actually go to the website where people can go to look and find out some information. And maybe that would be a way to do it. So it'll be just a matter of trying to get all that stuff in the few minutes that we have. But if nothing else, we can have that website where anybody can go to find out about where algae blooms are and find out more information about the blue-green algae or the toxic algae and health concerns.
Big picture stuff.
Big picture. Yeah, we don't obviously, but we don't get too far down into the weeds.
But kind of what's going on around the state, where
They have a BoCC site which shows all the different lakes that are monitored. It has a little dot on each of them so that give a quick perspective as to the different swimming areas that are being monitored and where people can get information, basically at a moment's notice.
Okay.
But I'm with you, rather than say we don't know, because people are going to say, wow, Thurston County, boy, they're incompetent. But we nationally, state and feds, Department of Ecology, nobody knows.
There's things we know about the toxins, we know about the impacts they can have, but what causes algae blooms to produce toxins is still being studied.
Yeah, thank you.
So we will work our best on that one.
Okay. So that's all 7 department items. Anything you want to add or anything, comments, revisions?
Yeah, just a couple comments.
Sure.
One is we had discussed in a previous meeting working on an opioid resolution for you. Ramiro and I were going to work on that, but we haven't got that item out done yet. So my question for you is, does the Board of Health want us to still try to do that for this month, or would you prefer that we move it to June?
I want it this month, but that's the standard.
Okay,
but,
you can do it. I will get to
hang
it.
on, there's 2 more votes. Hang on a second. That's my vote.
Well, at least I want to talk about where we're going and what our intentions
So,
are.
but
You know.
there was a
Sure, I'd like to have it
action
done.
on the item out floating around there, and they're just trying to follow up now.
Yep.
Or 1 more month.
I think sooner's better. The glacial pace of government always bothers me. So
Yeah,
You're
I'd like
taking
to
this
sooner
Same.
than later.
So what's the impact if we say now?
We just probably have to.
And be honest. I mean, if you say next month is better, then we'll do next month. I'm just trying to get us in the right
The
spot.
only concern that I have is we as a staff can bring you that resolution on Friday. But I think my suggestion for you will be to wait a month where you can actually see what that resolution means, as opposed to react next week and pass on the resolution, because it will be impactful.
Okay.
And by
Let's
being
do it right.
impactful,
Yeah, I want to do it right.
We're gonna do it right.
you may want to take the right steps to understand
Okay.
what that means, and in June, you will be in the position.
I want to do it yesterday, but I want to do it right.
but why next month rather than 3 weeks?
Because we haven't.
Oh, because we don't do the BOH. Okay. Yeah, because
What we may do is probably prepare a draft, and maybe
Okay.
have an agenda setting for the Board of Health, and then we'll introduce that 2 weeks prior to you taking an action, so it gives you a little more time to.
So the only other question I have in relationship to this and the whole opioid task force, and where is it in terms of a building the team, so to speak, and the timeline, and would June even be better, or May? That's kind of where I'm at as far as helping out that aspect. 'Cause that's really how it's tied to that and the overall arching drumbeat, if you will, the tone.
We're
So-
planning our first meeting next week of the opioid task force. Prosecutor Thunheim is going to join me in co-chairing the first meeting, and we're having a planning session tomorrow to talk about that. So we're planning on getting started. I think that the resolution is a good way to support that. So that's, if you're okay with us.
June.
If you want to do the resolution in June, and okay, we've got still meeting in May, or do you want us to do those both together?
I just don't want to be under the illusion that you need a resolution in order to have the task force opioid meet and do all the things, or it could come subsequent to that and still meet the intent of all the things we're trying to do countywide. So.
And the resolution includes some elements of the task force.
Yes.
And I think the resolution just consolidates perhaps some of the efforts that you may consider. But you're right, I don't think we need to wait until the resolution is passed to continue with the task force.
So June?
Yeah.
yeah, as long as we're not rushing it, we want to do it right, but I don't want to drag feet either.
So June. Or
So June, yeah, that's good.
we're going to do a 26-mile run at the moment. So. Okay, that solved that problem. Anything else?
Yes, I have one other item.
Sure.
Dr. Wood is still in the audience here, but Dr. Wood had proposed that she reduce her time by 0.10 and hire a provisional deputy health officer.
Point two.
Oh, 0.2, okay. And so we don't have an AIS prepared for this. This would be something that would be coming to here to BoCC because it's a personnel action. But because the Board of Health appoints a health officer, we have not had a deputy or positional health officer in the past. I wanted you to have a chance to consider that. And I don't know in which form you would prefer to do that. If you want to, we can bring that also to June Board of Health. We can do a briefing. We could.
So you're opening up the discussion of that, but I think it's more of an HR item more than anything else. And so more of a BoCC thing.
It is for the personnel part, but because the Board
Budget.
of Health appoints the health officer, in order for us to pursue personnel through BoCC, I feel like it would be, I guess we need sort of the blessing of the Board of Health to proceed in that direction before we bring it to the BoCC.
So the chicken or
Because
the
then we
egg,
would be
right?
hiring for, we would be then hiring and advertising for a position before the Board of Health has indicated a desire to appoint another health officer.
Okay.
So that's, I believe that
So you're not looking for an answer right now?
I'm not looking for an answer right now. I wanted to inform you of this because HR has been working on that, and it occurred to me that with the timing of the Board of Health that we should at least have a discussion. So.
Just curious about budget implications.
No budget implications because Dr. Wood will reduce her time, and this position will not have benefits.
Reduce time. Well, it just begs a conversation is all. I don't want to get into it now.
Okay. Perhaps we will either schedule a briefing or get some time on the agenda setting for another day, and we'll bring that forward, and then plan on bringing that for June and working on it.
On the Board of Health side?
On the Board of Health side.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's move into, as this 9 is director's comments for you and things you want to bring to the table, and Dr. Wood's health officers. And we shall have something for number 8 this time.
Well, mine says Don Saloma.
No, it doesn't.
It does too?
It doesn't on the electronic.
Oh, it doesn't? So what the heck? Okay.
Yeah. So Romero, just for FYI, on the printed version, it has Don Sloma as the
Is the director.
But on the electronic version, it has Shelley. So sorry.
We'll fix that.
Oh.
No, I'm just letting you know.
Okay, I thought, wait, what I miss?
I really appreciate the eagle eye the commissioners bring it.
It happens when you take the oath, you get the eagle eye with it. So.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Does it, Gary say it?
I see where it's at. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's on the electronic.
See, I don't have a printed copy, so we'll fix it.
Yeah.
I guess
Correction has
under,
already been made.
Oh, okay, sure.
at some point under Dr. Wood's report, maybe talk about that 2% reduction or whatever you're doing, change. Let the public know kind of where we're headed, what we're thinking about.
No, I think
No?
perhaps you need to understand what that really means and the steps you need to take before announcing to the public.
Oh, okay. I just thought maybe we'd let them know that we're up to thinking about doing something that we haven't been doing, that's all.
But you haven't taken
Haven't made a decision yet? Okay.
Pre-deciding.
Well, maybe she's recommending that we do this, it sounded like to me, though. I mean, that's where I'm coming from, not something we're going to do, but
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about it. Why not talk about it out in the open? That's kind of where I'm at.
This is open.
Yeah, okay.
So that gets us through number 10, health officer's report. Anything else for the Board of Health for May 8th?
Was the board going to share any activities this month?
Number 8?
Yes.
Yes, we are. You have to come up with a health activity for number 8. Number 8, okay? Something. She's trying to get us all involved. And I will too. All right. Thank you very much. We're going to take a break for 10:45. Thank you.
Yes. Are you on mute as well?
the Orca meeting?
Can you just kind of get the framework of the Orca letter? We're going to go straight to the Orca letter.
So, a week ago, I did, thank you.
Hey, Vicki. I heard that part of it is why I left already.
Okay, so about a week ago, our treasurer got a call from staff at Orca saying that they want to pay off their portion of a bond issue that the county had issued on their behalf. So when the county issued bonds in 2002, part of the funding was on behalf of Orca. It was a $655,000 that they needed to purchase land. At the time, the county and Orca entered into an interlocal agreement that basically says that Orca can pay off their principal and any interest accrued at any time. The county refunded these bonds in 2010. And part of the refund, or refinance, was that the new bonds are not callable, meaning you can't pay them off early until December of 2020. Orca would like to pay off their share now. And what was in that original 2002 agreement between the county and Orca says that they can pay theirs off at any time without penalty. However, if they do that, if they give the county the money that's the principal and interest to date through now, the county is still legally liable to pay the bond payments plus interest through December of 2020. So if Orca tries to pay us now and will only pay interest through, let's say, June of this year, then the county will have to pay interest in the amount of approximately $12,000. I had estimated 10, but it's closer to 12 over the next couple of years. So really, Orca is leaving the county with a bill, if you will, so that they can pay off their debt early and have savings. So we have sent the information to Orca, letting them know how much their interest and principal is through June, how much more the interest will be through the end of December 2020, and that from the county's perspective, Orca needs to pay their full share, including the interest through December of 2020. So I think it's important for the board to know that they will be discussing this at the Orca meeting on May 9th. Commissioner Hutchings, you are our representative to the Orca board. I don't know if you're planning to attend that meeting. I don't think you were.
Because of the audit, I believe, was conflicting.
The entrance audit.
Okay.
That was conflicting with that, yes.
We only have one commissioner, Commissioner Hutchins, that can attend that meeting.
And
Was the issue?
my
That means
alternate
there's
is not able to
commissioner
attend.
go to Orca either.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Edwards will be heading out of town.
At Waseek.
In Wasack.
Okay.
So now what?
Bobby here? Am I here?
I think
don't
you-
know what
I don't
your
think you were
schedule
available
is.
during that week, but
I don't know what time is it?
that's May 9th.
I'm pretty sure I'm here.
Well, we need someone to represent the county at Orca and let them know that, the county issued this debt on their behalf in good faith. with the understanding
I'm here
that
because
Orca
he's the one
would.
that lost it.
Let me double check.
Microphone's on.
So it's my understanding that Orca staff will be presenting this to the Orca board on May 9.
I'm pretty sure I'm here, so why don't you and I go over it?
Okay,
I'm 99% sure. I know my schedule well enough to be able to say it.
yeah.
My question is, what does legal say about this?
Well, we have asked both our
Yeah, you
bond
bet.
advisor and bond counsel. And what they say is that the interagency agreement between Orca and Thurston is just that. It's an agreement. It is not binding on the bond. The bonds are a legal issue, and Thurston County
Housing action team.
housing action team.
Okay, we'll talk.
Okay. But legally, Thurston County is required to pay. We issued the bonds, we signed for the bonds, even though we were good guys, if you will, and allowed Orca to piggyback on our bond issue, we're liable for the
What did they
bond.
do with that 650,000?
655,000?
Yeah, what did they do with that? You said they bought land. What did they buy?
I believe they bought property, but I'll have to double check that. But if the county is left having to pay, it'll have to come out of the general fund.
Well, I would say I'd take it out of our payment to Orca,
Well, I thought about that.
regardless of what the legislation says. I'd just do it, regardless. I don't mind challenging the state on that issue.
So I do have a procedural question.
Okay, sure.
If Orca is willing to pay, is the county obligated to accept the payment?
Yeah, that was one of my questions.
So, no, but if the county were to take the payment, it would be very straightforward. We would take the payment from Orca, assuming they include the interest through December 2020.
Yeah.
We would place that in a bank account where it would accrue interest, and when 2020 came, we would pay off their share of the bond once it's callable. So no harm to the county as long as they pay their full share.
Orca agrees to pay the interest through 2020.
2020.
Right?
That's right.
So, but if Orca does not agree on paying the interest through the life of the bond, or 2020, then the county has the option to say, no, thank you.
No, actually,
No?
the
That's what I'm asking.
That's the question.
interlocal agreement, if they try to stand on this interlocal agreement from 2002, it says Orca may pay at any time. So it gives them an entitlement to pay off their portion.
What kind of an interest rate are we paying off from the 2010 refi versus anything that we're working on? Can we make that work for our advantage?
I would have to take a look at what that rate is. I know that when we refunded the 2002 bonds, we saved a substantial amount of money, and the interest savings only for the Orca share were $48,000. So they've already saved a substantial amount just from the refund.
When we did it in 2016?
When we refunded it in 2010. The refund in 2016 was a different bond issue.
Okay. No, I remember that very well.
Yep.
Does the benefit the county received automatically transfer to Orca's payment?
It does, because all the payments go down, and our interlocal agreement with Orca specifically states that their interest will be at the rate of the bond issue.
Okay, well, it sounds like we've got several areas to explore.
And what's the timeliness that we're pushed up against?
So we had to provide the financial information to Orca yesterday, and they will be presenting it at the board meeting, the Orca board meeting on
the
May
9th.
9th.
At 10 a.m. Okay.
So that is the conundrum. Commissioner Edwards is heading out of town to WASAC, and Commissioner have a conflict with ORCA as well.
Yep.
We need a commissioner on the entrance conference for the state auditors.
However, if I contact the chair of ORCA and ask them to table it for the next month meeting for June, there's no time commitment push there, is there, for them or us by going to
they're
June?
looking at saving money. They're looking at interest savings.
So I will ask the chair if they would push that off, or whomever I would ask, push it off for the next month, since we won't have anybody in attendance.
That's an option.
It's an option.
Then we need.
I don't want to discuss an abstention and have them voting on something.
Especially if it has an impact to...
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, substantial.
Yeah. So maybe we can try that, and if not, then...
Delegate it to you or Robin to go.
To make the call.
But, I can go, but I don't know if the vote can be delegated from an elected official to administrative. I think that is the...
Okay.
I can certainly go.
I don't know what the bylaws are. So.
Is there one other option possibly, that if you or Robin went to the meeting possibly, and the vote could actually be conducted by either myself or Hutch telephonically? I mean, that's a possibility, and you would make the argument, or Robin, you would make the argument that, and then we could actually take the vote over the phone. I did that recently on a lot vote. But,
well, and ORCA does have folks, since it's all over the region, have folks call in and do teleconferencing.
Right.
On a regular basis, almost monthly.
Okay, so maybe first step
several
would be
options
for Commissioner Hutchins to approach the ORCA to see if this agenda item can be delayed for a month.
Yeah.
If that is not a possibility, then we'll implement Plan B.
Plan B over the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a face and a phone.
Yeah. Either Robin will go or myself go be in attendance at the board meeting, and if there is a need for a vote, then we'll do a council.
So, protocol-wise, is it proper for me to call the chair of the board, or for the county manager to call their ED, or me to call the ED?
It would be you making the call because you're a member of that board.
Okay, then. All right. To the chair.
Whoever sets the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
At least we got a plan.
Okay, thank you. Trying to stay on top of it.
So, at this juncture, I'm going to move down to advisory boards and commissions, which is number 8 and 9, which calls for an executive session for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service letter, and then we're going to have a separate back-to-back executive session request related to Lake St. Clair. So, we're going to look into executive sessions.
Are we going to come back?
No.
No.
This is going to take some time.
Yeah, that's true.
and we'll get mics here.
Oh,
Yeah, we need to...
I'm going to turn everything.
yeah, you might.